Welcome to HypnoGeeks. This month, we are talking on our HypnoGeeks podcast about branding, all things to do with branding you, branding your business, branding your therapeutic services that you offer. This is the podcast for therapists and hypnotherapists who want to thrive, not just survive. So let's get into it. Branding. Well, what is branding? Well, branding allows you to build relationships with your audience. It's that important stuff that we talk about. We need to gain rapport with our clients. We need to gain rapport with the people who are following us on our social media platforms. They need to get to know us, and they need to get to know who we are and a little bit about us. Once we've got that rapport, that means then we can eventually, hopefully quite rapidly, turn them into customers. And what we want loyal customers. We want customers that will come and get the benefit of our service, but then we want customers that are going to talk about us and share about their healing experiences that they've had with us. And you can create a brand that people actually really care about. You can put yourself almost ahead of your business and use your branding to your advantage. But when it comes to designing or creating or building a memorable brand, because you want it to be something that people remember, you want something that's consistent. And I know for myself, I've had several chops and changes. I want it to be purple, I want it to be pink, I want it to be blue, I want it to express. And as I've grown and developed and changed my business as well, I know I've had rebranding, and you kind of think, I want something that I can just stick with. And I remember somebody once said to me, think about yourself as being Lego, because Lego's this very obvious shape and size, and it's got Lego colors, those reds and yellows and blues and greens. They're the sort of colors that we recognize as Lego colors. They're not really, don't belong to Lego, they're just really bright colors, but those bright colors are Lego colors. And you can have a Lego helicopter and a Lego castle and a Lego tree house and a Lego palace, but it's still Lego, isn't it? It still looks like Lego. And I think that's what we want when we're creating a brand, so that we can be flexible with our businesses, and when we're molding and changing and adding different products, our branding still works for us. And when I think about like the world's most recognizable companies and their logos, you recognize them fast. You see the logo and you know who the company is. You know the ticky thing from Nike, or Nike, depending on where you are. Those horrible golden arches that tell you that you're on your journey to hell. The gates of hell, I call them. The McDonald's M there, you recognize it anywhere, love it or hate it. Apple's bitten apple from the Apple stores, and that you don't need to see any information to recognize who they are, what they do, know about them. These images are almost like glued inside our brains, and that's what a strong brand does. A strong brand does stick inside your mind like glue. But what makes them stick? What causes branding to stick? And I think branding it's not just about a strong logo or an icon. It's about the colors, it's about the images, it's about the fonts that you use, and it's about the tone. And it's even about, for me, it's even about the feelings that you get when you see a particular image, or you see a particular advert that's advertising those services. So it's a bit of a like something when you're setting your business up. This can feel huge to brand who you are, what you're about, what your message is. It's big. So in today's HypnoGeeks, we're going to take a deep dive, a closer look at what is branding, what are we talking about, how can we really nail it when it comes to branding, and I am hoping to extract some hot tips on how to create a really, really strong, effective brand from my amazing guest today. Please allow me to introduce Rosie. She is from Rapport Creative Design. I think the clue is in the name when it comes to what she's all about. Rosie, welcome to HypnoGeeks.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here chatting to you today and talking to your lovely listeners about all things branding. And yeah, what an introduction.
Well, let me talk a little bit about you so they know how fabulous you actually are, because you have been a graphic designer for 17 years and you've worked for some big national brands and agencies, as well as some of the leading creative agencies. So this gives you like real insight into what makes those brands stick, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. 17 years I've been doing this now. I've been running my own business for the last 9 years. So freelancing for the last 9 years. But yeah, prior to that, many moons ago, working for, I don't think I can name the brands, but if I said a national catalogue king who created the Book of Dreams, then people might probably know who I
I'm
mean.
sure we all know what that is straight away.
Exactly. Yeah, I was their brand manager for a long time. And before
So,
that, a homewares business as well. Yeah.
oh, wow. Okay. So big marketing, big national brands, but also you've worked a lot with quite small and very independent businesses and sort of really helping them to hone in on what their brand identities are as well. So tell us a little bit about Rapport Creative Design, because I know it's all about building those important relationships that I was saying about in the intro. Tell us a little bit about how you work with people, because you're a bit different to your average
Yeah, try to
kind of
be. Yeah,
designer.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, you've said it so wonderfully in your introduction about what is branding. It's about building that rapport with your clients or your customers or potential clients and customers. And that's therefore what I try to do. Yes, I've cut my teeth at bigger agencies and with national retailers, but now what I'm all about is bringing that same experience to small businesses, to independent
Yeah.
businesses, making that accessible and affordable to them.
Yeah.
Something I'm really passionate about. You know, I've been essentially a small cog in very big businesses before, but now I'm really passionate about working with independents, working with small businesses to bring the same level of detail in the branding to them. So yeah, rapport is all about building those relationships, and hopefully, as somebody who is a small business myself, I'm doing exactly what I try and teach my clients to do or show my clients to do, building those relationships, making sure that every single touch point of your business speaks the values of your business and gets those across to your potential clients, potential customers. So yeah, rapport is about building those relationships. It's about me building the relationships with the businesses that I work with. Pride myself on being Yorkshire lass, very personable, hopefully very approachable, building those relationships by having conversations and asking questions and really getting to the heart of somebody's business, finding out what their why is. Why are they doing it? What actually sets their soul on fire? Why are they so passionate about what they're doing? And then in turn, helping them by creating designs that really portray that, really project that, and really communicate their message to their potential clients. And as you said in your introduction, taking potential clients or potential customers and turning them into loyal brand advocates, people who are going to shout about your brand and your business and promote it to others. That's what I'm super passionate about.
Yeah, when I first met you, we were actually at a networking meeting, and just the support and the advice that you were giving people in that meeting, it really sort of it shone out as somebody who you really know your stuff, but your passion to support smaller businesses to get this right, but also holistic businesses, and certainly female-led businesses, which a lot of my students and graduates are women. And we're recording this on International Women's Day, so hooray!
It
Women
feels so
starting
apt
each
that we're
other in
doing this
business.
today.
It was like, yes, what a great day to do this podcast on.
Absolutely, yeah. It feels like we're coming full circle, doesn't it? Because that I love to work with small service-led businesses, and that can be anything. I've recently worked with doing branding for a female-led accountancy firm, a female-led business that sells crystals and does yoga workshops and sound therapy workshops and crystal therapy workshops. I've worked with a haberdashery and knitting shop near where I live, and that's female-led. So it's not that I don't tend to niche down in terms of one type of business, but I do naturally seem to gravitate towards, or they gravitate towards me, female-led, service-led businesses, or businesses that are giving something back. Yes, businesses are all about making money, of course they are, but I love to work with businesses that are giving something back to their community, or have more to offer their community as well. And that's another thing that I'm passionate about. And yes, that just so happens to be a lot of the time female-led businesses, which is great. That's another thing that I'm really passionate about. I support a couple of female focused charities, for example, with graphic design services, and it feels like it all fits together, because that's what I'm about, and that's my ethos.
It's so wonderful. Thank you for coming on today, by the way. Like, this is like really good, because for me, I felt really overwhelmed by the idea of branding. I didn't know, do I call my business my name? What do I do? What's important to me? And I really struggled. And when I went to a graphic designer initially, they were like, well, tell us about your business and what do you do? And I was like, oh, I do this and I do this and I do this, and I work with these people and I work with that people. And because hypnotherapy is such a Swiss Army knife of a therapy, because it helps people to stop smoking, it helps people with weight management issues, it helps people with stress, anxiety. There's like a massive range. I mean, I could sit here all day and just tell you things that we can do as clinical hypnotherapists, because it's a really powerful multi-tool. So like, how do you sell a powerful multi-tool? And I was like, do I niche? Do I specialize? Do I have? And it felt huge. And I almost had this like, if I set up this branding and then I decide I don't like it, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I paid quite a lot of money to get a logo in the end that I just hated and didn't like, and then just almost didn't want to put it on anything. So I think it's a huge challenge when you start your business, to understand why, what branding is to begin with, and why is it so important. So let's just like strip it right back to basics, and let's just address, what is branding, what do we mean by branding, and why is it important initially when you start in any business, when you're creating a product, why is it important to have sort of good branding in place?
Absolutely, yeah, and you're completely right. It's so daunting when you're starting out thinking about that, and all the different aspects that come with it. So, common misconception is that branding is just your logo. It's just your logo. It's a standalone piece that you can slap on everything: your marketing material, your social media graphics, your website, business cards, that sort of thing. But a real brand identity is probably the term I'm going to really overuse in this podcast this morning. Brand identity encompasses everything, every visual aspect that somebody's going to come across in your business. That be your logo, like you touched on before, your fonts, any icons that you use, patterns, textures, background images, photography style, so how your images look, the images that you use on your website, maybe photographs of yourself as the business owner. All of these things encompass brand identity, right down to how you speak, how you project yourself on your website, on your social media channels, in person, your tone of voice. So yes, it's definitely daunting when you think of all of those different things. But as long as you do the background work, what I call the brand strategy, the the sort of conversation that you have with yourself about your business, about why you're doing this, who you're wanting to speak to, and what your messaging is, then as long as you answer those questions, it really does help you define your own style, and that will lead you to defining the visual style. But branding, establishing your brand strategy, developing your brand image, it should be at the forefront of every business owner's mind. And we've touched on it already. To engage your customers, you need to build brand recognition and trust. Create a brand that communicates your values. It's going to attract like-minded consumers, the types of clients and customers that you want to attract. And then applying that consistently, applying that branding consistently, will help turn them into loyal customers, loyal brand advocates, like we talked about before. It helps customers remember you. If you're consistent, every time they see you across every touch point, they're going to, it's going to breed that familiarity, but it's going to breed
recognize it's
trust.
you.
Absolutely. Yeah, building that brand trust.
So consistency is definitely key,
Yes.
and having something that looks familiar.
Yeah.
You talked about brand strategy there, and there seems to be sort of lots of dynamics that we need to be, or lots of layers or levels, that lots of things we need to think about when we are creating a brand strategy. What would you say the things we need to start with when we are creating that brand strategy?
So I always, with my branding clients, follow the same framework. I've got 3 different branding packages that sort of suit growing businesses as they're growing, if they're just starting out, right up to sort of 2-3 years into business. But that each package includes what I call a client consultation call. That's hard to say. Where I speak to the client about their business. That point isn't about me talking about my experience or my skills or what I can offer them. It's a deep dive into their business and to why they started their business, what they want to get out of their business, what they want to be doing in the future. And that might look very different to what they're doing now, but it's about that progression. And I follow, there's a wonderful brand stylist and strategist called Fiona Humberston. I read all her books. She does some amazing online courses, and she talks about a framework of brand seasons. So she has 4 groups of keywords that are to do with your business values. So that could be, in the case of some of your students and the clinical hypnotherapists, they want to maybe project an image that is trustworthy, is reliable, is calm, is secure, is balanced, is professional, but also warm, approachable. You know, there's so many different things that you're going to want to portray in a business like that. And what Fiona Humberston's groups, these brand seasons, do is sort of really help people hone in on the values that they want to project for their business. And that puts them into a sort of visual style. So she does it with spring, summer, autumn, winter, and I work in a similar way. It doesn't then mean for a summer business your branding's going to be all bright yellow and sky blues. It's just directs you to a visual style, but it's more about getting you to really consider the values that you want to portray in your business, and then creating a visual style that fits with that. So I think that some small business owners, what the trap that people might fall into, and I've had clients in the past that have done this, is they're starting out, they want their logo to be red because red's their favourite colour. Red's a colour, it's their favourite colour. Yeah, they want their branding to be red because that speaks to them. But what they're not doing there is taking an objective look, looking at their business from the point of view of their customer, and what does the colour red signify? Often danger, or in retail spaces it's value and sale and cheaper or discount. So if they're not the values that you want to project with your business, then you probably should stay clear of that. So yeah, it's about taking an objective look at your business and how you want your customers to perceive you, and then having a visual style that fits with that.
So let's just have a scenario here, because a lot of my students, when they graduate, they are stop smoking experts. They are smoking cessation experts, because within the course we have a really amazing protocol that we teach them. And so when they graduate, they know how to deliver this protocol for a range of different challenging situations. People who've smoked for years, people who've smoked socially, people who have been, 50 a day, people who, smoke when they're drunk. It's like any kind of scenario, any situation, they're able to really help people to set themselves free from that horrible, unhealthy, life-taking addiction. And a lot of them are looking at how do you brand yourself, how do you even assess your values when you're talking about helping people to stop smoking. What sort of things could you think about to narrow that down to help you to kind of connect with those values?
Yeah, it's about achieving that balance of, you want to portray an image that's professional, that shows that you're trustworthy. Why should a client or a potential client come to you over other therapists that are going to help them stop smoking? So you really need to get a balance between being direct and selling that service, but also being professional, being calming, being soothing, being trustworthy, all of those sorts of things, and potentially thinking about the end result for that client as well. What's the result of them not smoking going to be? So it's really important that your branding has clarity, has, this is going to sound silly and excuse the pun, but space to breathe. Just having that sort of relaxed feel, that calm approach to your branding, that almost is going to reflect how the customer will feel after working with you as well. That's going to attract people to you, I think, and make you stand
I think
out.
when you see like stopping smoking advertising, it tends to show horrible images, really graphically gory images. I mean, the messages are very bold, but those kinds of messages don't work, because if they did, people would not be smoking.
Nobody likes being told what to do, do they? Yeah,
Well,
feeling
it's
like
the
they've been
subconscious
directed.
just filters it all out. If you're doing something that feels good, your subconscious will just filter all of that out. So all of those messages, those kind of scary messages, we know that they don't work. So we want to come across as, we understand how it is to be addicted. We understand the reality of how it affects your health. We understand the reality of how it affects your wealth, your life, your relationships. I loved what you said about space to breathe, something that reflects a space to breathe, but you also want to be direct in your approach. Like, this is actually going to really help you, and here's the scientific evidence to support that. Here's the research that supports those, what I'm presenting to you, offering you, and professional and calming at the same time as sort of eye-catching. Where do you start with fonts and colours when you want that?
Well, that's where a graphic design professional can really help you. They would make font suggestions and font pairings. Often it's often important to get a balance in your branding between a professional looking font, that when you need to have the harder hitting message, the serious message, that a font does that, but then paired with something that's softer, maybe more handwritten, maybe more scripted in its look and feel, so that you've got those two different ends of the spectrum almost, and you're able to give hard-hitting messages, but also have that reassuring aspect to your branding as well, that shows the softer side and shows that you're not there to lecture, you're there to support and to nurture and to reassure, and get that feeling across as well. So yeah, font pairings can really help you do that, because it just gives you a little bit more scope in your branding.
I think the other thing is that sort of comes to my mind is, like, there's so much out there. It feels noisy, the world, with advice and information. And you look on social media and it's like, you go on an emotional journey every time you get online, don't you? And it's like so much information. I guess I would probably want to Google something if I was going to look for a more personal or a more professional service. I might come off social media and just go and say, like, where can I find somebody who's really good? And then I'm gonna probably look through a few different websites, and I'm gonna look for somebody who I can connect with and have that rapport with. But how can good branding communicate? How can good branding really kind of elevate me above the rest? If you like, how can it make me stand out from the crowd? How can it elevate that kind of really unique personal service that I'm offering?
Yes, so it's by doing all those things that we've sort of touched on already. It's achieving a balance between being your authentic self, so projecting you as, if you're a personal service led business, as I am, I lead my business. It's just me. So my branding needs to reflect me, and me being my authentic self, but then also touch on or create those feelings that I want my customers and my clients to feel. So professional, reassuring, calming, like they're able to approach me, like they're going to be listened to. So it's a really hard balance to get right, but it's one that's so worthwhile. And just doing that, just having that balance, but also being your authentic self, and not trying to sort of crowbar in a brand identity that doesn't feel right for you. That's how you elevate yourself. And then the consistency that we talked about, that is so key. If every time a client or potential customer comes to you, they're seeing a slightly different version of your messaging, your visual identity, then that's going to create feelings of confusion. Don't really know who this business is, what they're trying to achieve, who this person is. Therefore, I feel very unsure about how they're going to help me. So it's getting the balance
It is
between yourself
reassuring,
and your
isn't it,
values.
to have the same, to have, like, that's why I liked the analogy of Lego. I want to be like Lego, and then I can be all different shapes and sizes and do all different things, but I still look like Lego. And I think that's what branding can do, isn't it? It can help you to look like Lego.
Absolutely, yeah. So all of my brand packages at the end come with a set of brand guidelines. So here are the tools, here are the visual elements that make up your brand identity. This is how they should be used consistently across all different touch points. And yes, you might add services in as your business evolves, and that's absolutely fine. It's natural progression in business. Sometimes there's certainly a few different aspects to my business, but the overarching theme, identity running through every single touch point is the same. And that's where that feeling of confidence can be projected to your potential clients.
And that branding is you. It's the feelings you want your clients to experience. It's the message that you want to put across. It's your values, and it comes in, and it's consistency. Those are the things that I've sort of picked up from you.
And sort of you've got to reflect your target audience. You've got to speak to them. You've got to attract more people like them. But you've got to have that a really great brand. You can have good branding, but to make good brand great, you need that depth and that emotion. It's going to either tug at somebody's heartstrings, make them feel a certain way, inspire passion, inspire loyalty, galvanize them into some sort of action. What do you want them to do?
Inspire the desire to change, I think, is
Exactly.
what we want to do.
In that
In a
sort
very
of
broad sense, for when we're in a hypnotherapeutic state. I think I was looking online yesterday, when people are just scrolling You've got like a pyramid of people who are potentially your customers. At the top, it's only something like 3% that are actually seeking out the thing that you're selling. Of all the people who follow you and look at you and find you, only 3% are actually looking for you and the services that you provide. The next lot are kind of people that are aware that they've got a challenge. And I think it was something like 16%, something like that. I'm not good with my numbers to remember exactly, but it was only something like 16% have got the challenge that you're talking about, but they haven't perhaps even thought about taking the steps that you offer. So it's almost like you need to educate them and share your values and you know, let them know who you are. And then you've got another massive who are just interested, who are doing research. And I'm usually one of those. I like to do a bit of research. I'm scrolling and researching and I'm reading what they do and I'm looking at, and I have no intention of purchasing anything. I'm not buying anything from you. I'm not investing in you. I'm not looking to engage in any therapeutic work with you. I'm just having a look. I'm just having a scroll. I'm just kind of, and it's usually when I'm in that zone of just researching that something will pop out and I'll go, ooh.
Yeah. Makes you want to look again, doesn't it?
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And I will have those I will have those kind of like purchase moments of I'm just going to do that like right now, and I'm just going to book in, and then you do have the people who just have no idea that they've got a challenge. They have no idea that this is something that is going to really impact their health, wealth, life, love, relationships, connections with the world. They're just getting on with stuff and they're not sort of aware of it. And so like how do we communicate with that vast array of people using our branding? How do we enable our branding to enlighten, to educate, to inspire, to perhaps even cause that kind of, oh, I think I'm just going to off that. I'm going to go.
Be that catalyst moment.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to sound really counterintuitive, but it's by taking a step back and not trying to be all things to all people. It's really focusing on who your audience is, who you want your audience to be, and speaking to them, and then they will gravitate towards you if your visual branding evokes feelings in those people. So it's really all about getting to know who your target audience is, who you want them to be. And then, as we said, what you want them to feel. So yes, that can feel counterintuitive and that can feel scary if you're wanting to just get as many clients as possible. You want to appeal to all people. But by trying to do that, it's going to mean that you're not effectively talking to anybody, because you're sort of dipping in and out and trying different things, trying to be all things to all people, and you're not actually focusing your messaging and your visual identity on the people that are actually going to buy from you. So
it's really interesting. So like knowing who your target audience are really important. Knowing who your clients are is really important. And I think for a lot of us, when we first graduate and we're first stepping into, we don't really know who our clients are yet, because we haven't had much of a go. And I always say to my graduates, just pick an area that you feel inspired by, or pick an area that you feel passionate about. You don't have to work in that area forever, but at least you know who you're speaking to. You know who you're speaking to. You know what challenges they're facing. You know what difficulties they're having, and you can communicate your message of healing, your message of transformation, your message of the benefits of working with you. What are the benefits of working with you? You can communicate that. You tend to get to the place where, okay, I definitely want to work with people who smoke cigarettes, because like really in this day and age, why are we putting things in our mouths and setting them on fire? Like it doesn't make any sense when we know about health and we know about stuff. Why would, and it's a great way of really helping people have more money, which is, it's a great way of helping people have a better life. So okay, so now I know now I know who I want to talk to. Who am I? Who am I? And why am I attracted to this? What's me why? I loved what you said about, like, really, what's your why?
It's
For
so
helping
important.
these
It's so
people.
important. And like you said, it doesn't, just because you settle on a visual identity style for the business that you have now, doesn't mean that we touched on it before, that can be really daunting, because you think, oh, well, once I've got that logo, I'm stuck with that logo forever. Even if my business evolves, I need to stay true to that. And that's not the case. It should evolve with you. If your business really changes, it should evolve. But so, for example, your students that might want to focus on the stopping smoking therapy,
Yeah.
helping people stopping smoking, that might not be where they want to be eventually in their career.
No,
And
I'm sure
X of
it's not.
clients that they're working with. Yeah, but
Yeah.
by having a brand that portrays the values of trustworthiness, credibility, reliability, being reassuring, um, having all of those
Okay.
elements visible in your visual identity
Mm.
means that even when you do evolve your business and change, you've got loyal followers, you've got loyal brand advocates that know that those skills are transferable in whatever you do in the future. Those feelings are still going to be prevalent in your business because of the identity and that you've built up to start with. So even if it does evolve, I think that it's so important to get it right first time. And yes, that
Yeah.
might change and you might add to it, or you might completely rebrand. I did that myself a year ago. For the first 6, 7 years of freelancing, I just worked under my own name. First couple of years of freelancing, you say yes to every type of client because, like you said with your students, they're trying things out. They want to work out where they fit. And it's
Yeah.
only been the last couple of years that I've applied the strategy that I use with my clients to myself.
Yeah.
And it's done wonders for my own business because I've been clearer in who I'm speaking to, who I want to work with. And the rebrand has sort of really helped with that. It doesn't necessarily mean that I will have this brand forever. As my business
Yeah.
evolves, I might evolve it. But yeah, I think people sort of getting away from that scary feeling of I've got this logo and therefore I need to always keep it as that. It makes it a bit less daunting. And yeah, I can appreciate that it can then be expensive, if you feel like it's expensive, if you're investing in a brand identity and it isn't quite right because you haven't done the brand strategy work, you are going to feel like you're not getting a return on your investment in that way. But that's why I try to work with clients, one, with affordable packages, because I believe that good design should be accessible to small businesses because it's so important for individual-led businesses and service-led service industry businesses as well. But it's about sort of making sure that you're investing in the right thing and doing that strategy piece.
So getting on the brand strategy journey can actually really give you clarity with your vision for your business as well going forward long term. And I loved what you said about, what makes you Lego, I suppose, what makes you the Nike tick, what gives you that is that the brand that you choose looks professional, it looks trustworthy, it's got that direct message, whether that message is about transformation or calmness or freedom or better health or more vitality or just knowing who you are and more clarity in your life. That's there in the logo, and it's there in the branding, and it's there in the colors. And I guess you can then start with stopping smoking and then move into working with anxiety and then move into hypnobirthing.
Yeah, because
Because
you've got that credibility.
your message is still the same message. It's still, this is who I am, this is what my values are, and that's, I guess, what makes good branding great.
Absolutely.
Having that consistency.
Yes,
I love it. I love it.
absolutely. It's so important, I think, and
Yeah.
something that's often overlooked. And I'll be doing myself a disservice here, because as long as you do your brand strategy work and you know exactly who you're wanting to speak to, you could potentially, if you're a creative person, do this yourself. You could,
Yeah.
there's tools online that you can use, Canva, and that sort of thing, because you're going to achieve a consistent brand if you have those things at the forefront of your mind. Having said that, working with a graphic design professional is who also does that brand strategy piece with you
Yeah.
means that you're going to have a brand identity that has that depth, that has that emotion, that can speak to people.
Yeah.
A good graphic designer, for example, you know, they talk about graphic design styles and individual
Yeah.
styles. And yes, I've definitely got an individual style, but a good graphic designer should be able to flex that. It's not about me as a graphic designer pushing my
Yeah, do
style
you know,
on
when I
people.
first started, I worked with a really top graphic designer, like London top business prices. It were thousands
Yeah.
to have them come up with brand design. And when they showed me what they come up with, I was like, I'm a therapist.
It's
And
not quite right.
it looked like an advert for paintballing. I was like, if oh seriously, that it looked like army writing, like the A team or
They're not calming,
paintballing. I was like,
soothing, reassuring. Yeah.
I'm a therapist, and it didn't look like that was what it was. And I was like, oh, you know, I
Because they're
thought you'd be
potentially having done that
marvelous.
strategy
So
piece with you.
I went to someone else who had years of experience and had done all sorts, and they came up with like some kind of luminous green lotus plant, and I was like, "When
Again, not quite right.
I don't sell LSD, and I'm not teaching yoga." So I was like, "You just haven't got me. You haven't got who I am. You haven't got what I'm about." And I could see it in what was being presented with. How on earth do we find how do we choose a graphic designer? How do we select who we want to work with? And what if we're presented with something that just doesn't resonate with us, that we really don't think? I mean, I was able to just say no thank you and walk away, and there was nothing sort of lost, but flipping heck, I was a bit like, what happened here? Like, it was like seriously, the second one was like a luminous lime green lotus
Isn't
plant.
right for
I was
you and
like,
your business, not at all. Yeah, it could be then that they've either not done the brand strategy piece with you, not
yeah,
asking questions, or they're so fixed on their own personal style that they've pushed that onto you. A good graphic designer should ask so many questions that you feel like you've been interviewed, interrogated almost
right.
about your business and about your brand values. It's not about them selling themselves, it's about them selling you and your business. And that's what they should be able to do. So I would say, yeah, it again is another aspect of it that can feel massively daunting if you're not somebody that is familiar with the world of design. You're scared that you don't know all the terminology. You're not sure what you're actually asking for. Speak to several graphic designers, whether you find them online or whether you find them through personal recommendations. I've had people see things that I've done online and their branding that I've worked on for other clients, and then they've actively sought out who did that
Yeah.
branding.
Who did
Why
that?
do I
That
like
was really
why
good.
do I like that
Yeah.
branding? And I like that branding because it's giving me these
Mhm.
feelings about this business. Who did that? And how could I work with them? But then it's a case of speaking to several, having that. It's why my business is called Rapport, making sure that you've got that rapport with them,
Yeah.
so that when you're doing the initial brand strategy piece, they're asking the right questions. They're getting to know you as a business owner, and then their
Right.
designs will reflect that. And if you have that rapport with them, when something comes back, it should. Clients that I work with, I'll give them in one of my brand packages. There's 2 different brand identity options from them to choose from. They'll both fit with the brand strategy piece that we've worked
Mm.
on, but they're 2 totally different creative routes. And pretty much 90% of the time, more than that, a client picks one of those and they're really happy with it. There isn't rounds and rounds and rounds of amends because I've done the brand strategy piece at the start. But if you build that rapport with them, if they come back with something that isn't quite right, you're able to have that conversation with them about
Yeah.
why it isn't, and they
You're
will take that.
comfortable to have that
A good
conversation
graphic designer
as
will take
well.
that on board and work with you
Mm.
because they want it to be right for your business. That's
Yeah.
certainly how I work. I would want every single client to be a marketing tool for me. Then in a way, they're then
Mm.
telling people about the branding that they've achieved through working with me, but also the experience that they had working with me as well. And I think that's really important. So yeah, do your research, look at brands that you like and that speak to you, really objectively think about why they're speaking to you, find out who did those designs, see if you can get a conversation with them, and then give them as much information about you and your why and your business values as you possibly can, and build that rapport with them so that you can have those open conversations with them.
Yeah, and I think if you are at the other, and you know, you're not in a position where you can go and pay somebody initially, I guess choose something that does reflect who you are. It does reflect the message, the values, your values. It's not a luminous green lotus plant.
Yeah, which is
There's lots
think.
of butterflies as well, you know, because obviously we're working with transformation.
Yeah.
Butterflies seem to be everywhere, and you think, oh, what represents me? What represents you as an actual therapist? What makes you stand out? What makes you different? What is it about you? And look for something that represents you as opposed to the service that you offer, particularly more about why, what represents you and your why. I think it's a good way to start. Yeah, a good place to start. And you can look on things like Canva, and there's lots of things there. Ask yourself lots of questions, reflect on it. But you can actually work with Rosie as well. She has got some really awesome packages, and she does work with small businesses. So she's not going to be totally out of your league. How do people get in touch with you if they want to actually just jump on a call with you and say, talk to me about branding?
Yeah, I love speaking to people about branding. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. Yeah, as you've touched on, I've got 3 brand packages that sort of suit growing businesses, but I'm also always open to speaking to somebody if they really do have an idea in mind that they want to achieve. Those packages can flex, and I can come up with bespoke options that fit that business owner at that point in their business journey. It might be that we only do a light touch if that's all their budget can allow, but then that's something that I could work with them on in the future. So yeah, my website is rapportcreativedesign.com. Got an Instagram page that is at Rapport Creative Design. So yeah, getting in touch with me either through the website or through socials is a great starting point.
Yeah,
I'm from Yorkshire. I love having a good natter over a cuppa. So yeah, always happy to speak to business owners about their.
You're a Yorkshire lass. It's got to be Yorkshire tea.
It's got to be. Is there any other
kind? Get a brew on the go and have a good chat. Have a good natter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Rosie. During the chat, I've gone really Yorkshire because I've been talking with you. I'm like, right, Yorkshire lass.
I'll bring it out in people, I think.
And you know, I think the theme of International Women's Day today was about equality, but it was also about using technology as well. I think we're supposed to do something like this, but I love that we've spoke about using technology on International Women's Day, because it is a great way to reach out, to gain rapport, to connect with people, and it can elevate you above the others if it's got that good, if it represents your values, if it represents who you are, it's going to elevate you and really make you stand out from the crowd.
Well, and you touched on Canva, and you know, some graphic designers don't like talking about Canva as a tool that people are doing their own branding, but I would rather see a business that has got great, well-considered, consistent branding. Yes, they might have created it themselves, but if I can teach people about that, if I can open those doors for them, it still gains the credibility and the trustworthiness in me. It might be that a couple of years down the line, they need a slightly bigger design project looking at, or packaging, or something that Canva isn't going to allow them to do. Canva's got them to a certain point, but because they've had those conversations with me and know that it's not all about me making money from them. It's about me making sure that they've got the tools for this and to project their business in the right way. Then that's still going to build that rapport with me, which is what I'm all about.
And that's why I invited you on today's show. So
Thank you.
thank you for coming on this this episode of HypnoGeeks. Really loved geeking out on branding.
Geeking out on branding, I love to do it. Well, it's lovely that you know, the reason I first got into graphic design, I did psychology at A level and art, and
Yeah,
wasn't aware of graphic design as a career at that point. But then, yeah, did a foundation course, did a 6-week module in graphic design, and I thought, hang on a second, this kind of combines the two, because graphic design, it permeates everything in our world, and it's about getting people to feel a certain way, to do a certain
that's
thing through
right.
your visuals, and that's why it's so important to me. But thank you so much for having me on. I've really loved chatting to you.
We'll pop you on the website and a link so that you can find Rosie too. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Take
so
care,
much. Thank you for
guys.
having me.
Be a Hypno Geek. Bye for now.